Okay. Well, there's no video game tie-in to what we're talking about next, as far as I know.
Nope.
So, Raised by Wolves,
Woo.
season 2, episodes 3 and 4. So, taking
Wait,
2 episodes at a time. Oh,
there was a video
yes.
game in these episodes.
Oh, that's true. That's
There you
true. And
go.
Mother, it per the stereotype, was not happy about it.
No, she was not having it. She destroyed that system. Go do your
Wow.
work.
I
Yes.
mean,
Such
you
it
had
was
to
such
destroy it?
I mean, I didn't focus on that so much as I focused on the very stereotypical like mother child like
Mhm.
don't play video games, go do your work. I hate you. You're
Mhm.
the worst. Oh god,
And it
it was so great. It was so just like natural and I loved it.
Yep. Alright, well, spoilers ahead for,
Yes.
Raised by Wolves season 2, episodes 3 and 4, and 1 and 2, and all Raised by Wolves up until this point. Um, yeah, so, like, about the video game thing, yeah, it is interesting
Yeah.
because we continue to see how differently mother and father handle things now versus before, and how they've
Mhm.
changed, because mother responds in kind with emotion,
Yes.
as opposed to something like calm, logical, and calculated. It's more like,
Very
go
robotic,
do
yeah.
it, you know? Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. No, she's clearly been, corrupted by or infested by, whatever terminology you wanna use, by emotion. Um,
mhm.
I know she and father were kind of talking about that earlier in the season, but it's really on display here. It's like I was saying, it was it's such a stereotypical scene between a mother and a child that for a second you just like completely forget that, she's not human. It was just
Yeah.
so perfectly emotional and responsive and it was just like so natural for her. Um
Yep.
and it really plays into what I think Sue said. I can't remember if it was episode 3 or 4 where she was like your caregiving program sometimes like overrides everything else to a scary degree. And I was like,
Hmm.
"Yep. Yep, I think we're getting a lot of that on display here." You know?
Well,
So,
and that's I mean, I guess the argument, because you say infected by emotion, but at the same time,
yeah.
the emotion then, I mean, that's the big dilemma that we get in episode 4. Um, well, we can get there when we get there, I guess. But we're gonna jump all the way right to
Yeah.
the craziness, I suppose.
But a good pair of
Well,
episodes, I think, that
yeah.
it indicates that we, like, really wanna talk about, like, just everything that's going on because it was a packed bunch, even though not, like, a ton happened, you know? But it
It
was enough that it just everything felt like everything was moving forward in a meaningful way, even if, like,
Mhm.
very large events weren't happening throughout both episodes.
They're focusing on characters in the right way, I think, and
Mhm.
so not a lot has to happen for it to be, entertaining.
Moving.
Yeah, and I've I think that, Raised by Wolves right now is in a really good place. I'm
Mhm.
really excited where it's going. I've
Mhm.
been really enjoy. You notice by my notes, I barely took anything
I
because I just
know.
was just in it, and so yeah.
Yeah, even my, like, my ramblings and my stream of consciousness was, like, greatly shortened. Like, normally like this, I can go for, like, at least half to 3/4 of a page, and I've just got, like, little paragraphs because I was super into everything.
Hmm. So, okay. So, looking over some of your comments, so we get in episode 3, we have the idea that we talk about the video game. Mother is going to try to control her
Mhm.
serpent child, potentially,
Yes.
um, which,
Simultaneously while everybody else is hunting it.
yeah. So, what do you um, what do you think of this? Like, trying to brain control it. Firstly, I feel like the snake serpent is not going to take too kindly to you. cutting open its uh, brain cavity there,
Yeah.
and then implanting some chip. Now you get to control it. That seems unwise.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that this was just kind of a very illogical approach to this problem. I get that it was Mother trying to rationalize, we shouldn't kill it. Especially after, of course, big shocker, big revelation. We learn that it doesn't eat meat, at
Hmm.
least seemingly. Obviously, we can never take anything always at face value, and you kind of gotta like, you know, hold some disbelief sometimes because you can be proven wrong. But once we learn that potentially this giant snake creature is an herbivore, um, that's even more reason for Mother to be like, okay, well, this is my child. I can start to let myself feel emotion towards it again. But how am I going to get everyone else to
Yeah.
leave it alone long enough? But yeah, the way that she tries to like solve that problem is just highly illogical, I think.
Yep.
Because of course, um this show is so much about freedom of thought, and the different freedom and control of thought in different ways. You know, with the collective, it's more abstract. Of course, with Marcus and like the religion of soul, it's also like an abstract sense of control, um, and abstract sense of freedom because there's no like actual barriers. So this is just kind of an interesting way to explore those notions, how you can be controlled in your mind by a theory or an idea, and then this sort of takes it to like a how would that actually go if we placed a chip in your brain and controlled you? So
Okay. So, well, firstly, my mistake. I jumped ahead. I was for whatever reason I
oh,
was
it's
thinking
okay.
this was in episode 3, but that was yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it for because, like you say, there's a lot of themes of free will and stuff like that. But yeah, so your argument is like you don't have to be literally controlled to be controlled,
Yeah.
kind of. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen that in this show. Like, you don't have to be literally mind controlled to be controlled by like a framework of thought or a framework of expectation that guides you to think one way or another about something.
Hmm.
So it's just interesting
Um.
to like for the show to then kind of now explore like the literal mind chipping, but
Yeah.
to a different being that doesn't quite communicate the way that we expect, isn't like, a literal machine that we know of. Obviously I'm still a little bit confused on what exactly the like genetic and biologic makeup of this snake creature is, since it came from Mother who is a machine herself. Still not like super clear on that. But for the moment doesn't seem to be just like pure android.
Yeah. I don't know if they explain ever um if we're dealing with a lot of like nanotech or something that makes
Well,
this
they called it
possible or
yeah, they called it like biotech at one point, but like that's still pretty ambiguous to
yeah.
me. Like it doesn't give me like, okay, does it like have a little bit of, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know how to even describe what it would be,
Yeah.
since it's hard for me to kind of wrap my brain around like something being birthed biologically from a machine.
Yeah, I mean, well, and the question is how was she actually impregnated?
Yeah,
Because obviously it seems like was in a simulation,
right.
but she was plugged in.
Right.
So
So
if
what
she's
exactly?
yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean maybe if she's designed to have, basically a uterus that
Mhm.
then can an organic life form can live in, so then she's able to birth essentially a completely organic thing because it wanted to feed on it needed
Right.
blood. So it
Right.
needed organic material, even though
Mhm.
her body had the space to contain it and like I guess the
Right.
proper warmth and whatever, but
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you think then if she was built that way, that she would carry the atheist children that way.
well, but she didn't know, right. It was
You know
definitely
what I mean?
designed as like a secret thing. She didn't
Yeah,
know it.
I
No
guess,
one
yeah.
knew it. It
That's true.
was
That's true.
so what's the design of this original campion?
Right. Yeah, what's the
What's
point?
his aim? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is it a hope for cuz other things have done the hope for humanity and relations between android and human based on a hybrid. That's going to be
Right.
the unifying thing. But we're
Right.
not really arguing against organic versus or inorganic. We're arguing against atheistic or religious.
Right.
That's the conundrum that we're dealing with to get along.
Right.
So
Although, I mean, they do kind of bring that element in with Marcus's recurring like android put down,
right.
his whole like focus on humans are better. They're just
Yep.
machines, don't get attached. Which obviously we can definitely explore in episode 4. That's
Yeah.
so prominent. But yeah, this it doesn't seem like the show is as focused around that, but there's still clearly some element of how do we blend these?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Well,
interesting that they do so sorry, I was just gonna say, it's interesting
no
that they
good.
do so in this, like, snake creature, normally, like, in a lot of other shows, we get this, like, blending in a human form, but, like,
Yeah.
this is totally just, like, you can hardly even relate to it.
It's still definitely the biggest mystery of the
Yeah.
show. It's certainly the WTF thing. Um
Yeah,
that
it's
like
like I said,
again
it's the thing that
really
made Chris go like, "I can't right now. We jumped the shark and I can't get back. We jumped the snake creature and I can't get back."
yeah, but I still think they would have benefited from I'm sure it's designed to be a shocking wow revelation kind of crazy thing. But the way that this season started and kind of reeled it back in terms of
Mm,
like obviously the creatures involved, but we're in most ways more preoccupied with other things.
yes.
I think really,
That was smart.
because the show didn't just become like magic.
Yeah.
It didn't all of a sudden. It seemed like for a while it's going to go down a completely different path. Like, oh my god, what is going to happen here with this?
Yes.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
it's
I'm
just
so
another
glad.
element.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad they reeled it back. I mean, we were talking at the end of season 1 like, okay, like I was so with you and then these last few were just like, yeah, like you said, WTF, like
Hmm.
what is the snake monster? But yeah, they really let it take a back seat in the first few episodes. And even if they were chasing it and trying to figure it out, it wasn't physically present on our screens. And that was a great choice. Now
Hmm.
it's present. There's intrigue, but it's not like we're continually running off into, you know, the forests of the tropic zone to go find it. It's here. It's kind of caged, out of sight, out of mind, and we can visit it whenever we want to. So it's in a way still a huge mystery, but it's not outrageous right now. It's not like crazy things are happening or it's doing crazy things. Um, it
Yeah.
seems almost very ordinary right now, and I think that's weirdly
Yeah.
a correct tack to take with it.
Yep. Yep. Well, Father's on the screen right now. So we
Mhm.
should talk about because in episode 3, we definitely dealt with him. So yeah, I
Sons
mean
of
he's
bitches. He dies
yeah,
again. I was so mad.
yeah. So we have the confrontation with Marcus
Oh,
and very. I mean, what are the chances here? He runs into his old followers.
yep.
But yeah, he
Wearing the
takes down.
stupidest accessories I've ever seen. Those energy hats were
You
just
know,
a
hey,
lot.
you don't want the batteries to wear out and just
Oh
whatever.
my god.
So
They remind me of,
it's
those, like, rotating lights at, like, big openings and stuff that just, like, you know, light up the sky.
okay. Okay, yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's what I felt like they were wearing on their heads as they were just like, "Wee."
I thought it was like, Rebel something or another from Star Wars helmets that they wore just needed to be bent a little more.
I mean,
Yeah.
they looked that way for sure, but, like, yeah, those, like, weird energy beams that they kept giving off, I was like, "Okay.
Mhm.
This is a
Yep.
lot right now."
um but
But yeah,
yeah,
running into
Marcus takes
Marcus.
him down and
Yeah.
we get to see how mother's eyes have affected
Yeah.
him
I was just
and
gonna
enhanced
say, can
his
I say cheater, cheater, pumpkin eater? Because there's no way without
well.
Mother's Eyes giving him a little extra edge there.
I mean, I don't know if that's cheating exactly. He didn't even choose to do it. Just like,
Yeah,
but
but I felt
I
like it was
mean,
cheating.
an android is like a weapon, like a firearm that can think and do its own thing. It is
Mhm,
literally a powerful, hard to destroy machine.
mhm,
So it's definitely not a fair fight.
yeah,
So I was surprised the outcome nonetheless.
mhm,
And yeah, poor father, he is always going through it. But he's then like really coming to the breaking point. He gets
mhm,
killed again, comes back. He's upset that mother is not just gonna get rid of the snake creature.
mhm,
Feels betrayed yet
mhm,
again. Like I thought we were in this together, that we're not, making decisions together, anything like that. So he finds his little respite. He finds his pet project,
mhm,
and this was surprising, but of picking up these things that they've excavated, right? Pieces of this body
right.
that he's excavated from around the area and stuff that seem very old. I think they dated it. I don't remember how old, but it was supposedly very old.
Yeah, mhm.
So,
Yeah,
and
I
yeah,
think this was a good choice too, because father needed his own thing besides, being the, quote unquote weaker of the two in this partnership, and just like getting killed. I mean, he's when it comes to the children, I think he's clearly the favorite just because he's got often a more pleasant and less authoritarian nature than mother,
sure.
which is again
Hmm.
very stereotypical, I think, of, when people think of like parents. Um Mom's often
Sure.
like bad cop kind of, no, I told you to go do your chores and whatever. Um but yeah, so I it was good that father is now getting his own thing, and I think his thing is turning out to be quite an interesting mystery, especially with regard to the whole atheist versus religious community debate, which we can again get into later, but yeah.
Hmm.
Another
Yeah.
solid choice by the writers.
Yeah. And sends him on a quest to get more fuel blood,
Yes, fuel
fuel blood.
blood.
Yeah. So that's interesting. We get a little like battle arena kind of
Yeah,
situation,
a little like
sort of fun.
marketplace, but also black market, like
Yeah. Thunderdome,
yeah.
IMAC, it's like something going on there. And so that's kind of fun and
Yeah.
unexpected. And then the
Well,
like sort of pride he feels afterwards, that's kind of
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I mean, he needed some things that were not, just the family, not just him and mother, him going along with her plans. He needed his own stuff, and this works for him.
Yep.
And I have a feeling obviously we haven't seen the last of his pet project, but I have a feeling we've probably not seen the last of, marketplace makeshift Thunderdome either.
Sure. Yeah. So what do you think of the so we have the kids being mischievous. They can't decide if they're going to tell about Marcus and the different things they're finding. Like what there are real disagreements here. I'm surprised how quickly Campion is getting theological. He's getting, like
Yeah,
he's
seduced
raised
into religion.
completely. Yes, he's raised completely atheist. Um, and now he's jumping ship in a way here.
Mhm.
And so we see this dilemma, and then of course, Paul get called in by the not the collective, the
Yeah, what is
shoot,
it?
the main AI.
Yeah. It's like the truth or the not the truth. You know what yeah.
Yeah, we know what it is, but then we're gonna keep bringing it up. I can't believe we can't think of it. Maybe it'll come to us at some point here, but the
I
we'll
know.
think
It's
of
like
it.
on the
It'll
I
come to
know.
us. The AI that's in charge of the collective.
Right.
It's what did you think when Paul gets brought in and he ultimately, lies to
Mhm.
the computer and then is rewarded with his mouse?
Yeah.
How did you
Um
read that?
So I definitely read it. I was like, there's a trap here. I didn't figure out what it was, but I was like, there's no way Paul's getting away with this. There just wasn't going to be a way that the computer
The
didn't.
trust.
The trust. Oh my god, I was so close with the truth. Dang
Mhm.
it. Um so yeah, so I was very like, I'm not sure how this is gonna be a trap, but it's gonna be a trap. I was more for like putting like a tracking chip in mouse as opposed to what actually happened, which
Yeah.
was horrific. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I to go back to your kind of point about, Campion's very easily swayed into like starting to believe. Um, I thought these two episodes were again really interesting for the way they chose to depict different humans and the way that they react to their set of beliefs, whether it be atheistic or religious, being threatened or being challenged. Because in some ways I thought a lot of, the kids who'd come from, I don't remember, Mithraic, I think is
Yeah.
is like the group. Okay. The
Yep.
Mithraic kids, they with the exception of the girl who had gotten pregnant, are very
Yep.
like doubling down. Now that they're in the
Yeah.
collective, they seem to be like doubling down on their religion. Um and just like repeating it more than ever, which I think kind of like can show for some people their extremely stubborn nature and their resistance to like, even if this is your community now, like screw that. Like this is what I believe and I need to just like hold on to it even harder. Whereas for Campion, um, he's kind of showing the other side of, I'm really making friends for the first time in a long time, and a lot of that exposure is sort of softening me up to,
Mm.
what in
That's an
particular
interesting look
in
at
what
it.
Paul believes. I mean, obviously these past two episodes have shown Campion a few things that seem to hint the possibility of the Mithric religion and soul being real. They do sort of lend itself to that, and it's hard now as a fully grown adult to feel like what would my child brain be
Right.
influenced by, and how big a sway would this have. But for me, when I look at it, I really think it comes down to Campion needs people. Campion needs family. He had
Mm.
it, he lost it. um He's been alone with mother and father, grooming him towards his, sort of big destiny. And he's not feeling real sure about that big destiny. And so he's reaching out for the closest thing he has to companionship. And right now that's Paul.
Yeah.
So I think there's some influence happening there. Just the
Yeah,
way,
it's
I mean, he also bonds with like the AI, um,
yeah, the android girl.
the android girl, yeah.
Mhm.
And is influenced by her as well. Like
Right.
she, even though she isn't like as hardcore as Paul is. I think, the bond he feels with her and that companionship that he starts to have, just softens him up even more.
Yeah. Yeah, I bring up a lot of points there. I didn't think about the like needing friends or something like that, and that's true. How people can probably really um, be swayed by because we're seeing that like you say, we're seeing that the other way with some of
Mhm.
the other kids where they're kicking back against because now they're
Mhm.
in this community. And so
Right.
that's a common thing we see or whatever, where someone's presented with something else or another lifestyle or another
Right.
viewpoint or whatever that butts up against their own. And generally all that does is re-solidify your own, whereas maybe it shouldn't. It
Mhm.
kind of puts you into self-defense mode and
Right.
kind of makes you, as you say, double down on your present stance. Um, but then it's also realistic to see someone like Campion that is swayed um, based upon the group, a very
Mhm.
natural human thing to try to blend in and not be the black sheep, to not be the outsider and to
Mhm.
fit in. And so you're right, he's used to having his family. Most of that's been gone.
Mhm.
Parents are more distant or preoccupied with other things. And it's, they're all sent with their tasks now and stuff. So yeah, it's very, a
Right.
very comforting thing to be searching for, you know, to fit in and to belong.
Yeah, and I think, then the logical question or come back to that would be, well then why doesn't he just, make friends in the collective? And I would come back at that with, first, like the collective hasn't exactly been all that friendly. I mean, they've been friendly
Right.
to Mother and the teeniest bit to Father, but I feel like they think they're more useful, you know, than Campion is. So they haven't really like nobody's really reached out to him. And then second of all, Mother is pushing Campion to one day lead the collective. And if Campion's not really feeling that or if he's feeling too much pressure
Yeah,
by that, of course he would reject anybody in the collective.
sure.
So you kind of have like a double whammy there of like, yeah, I don't really want anybody here. So who else does he have? The Mithraic
Yeah.
kids and Paul's been a friend,
Yep.
when they don't exactly talk about their differing belief systems, Paul's been a friend. So,
Yeah. Yeah, there was one other thing I was going to say that you'd mentioned that triggered something. You brought up a lot of points there. I needed to take notes.
sorry.
There's some good. No, no, there are good ones. I just can't remember where I was going to go with it now. But yeah, it's interesting to see that relationship and how he's switching. And I think that the show is succeeding because things feel genuine. These
Mhm.
reactions feel
Things feel
truthful.
real. Yeah. Mhm.
And oh, that's what I was going to say. It's common to be in religion, and say in here a lot too is you got to keep the faith. You got to have faith. And so that's a traditionally something looked at as a difficult thing to do. You're in a tough situation, and you need to maintain your faith um, in the face of adversity or like where things aren't going your way or whatever. But
Right.
the same can be said, I think, and I hadn't really thought of it this way from an atheistic point of view or something that's you're trying to base everything on logic, because at the same time as where it's difficult to attempt to maintain faith in the face of adversity, it's also tough to maintain uh, objectivism or some sort of logic based mindset in the face of terror or
Mhm.
uncertainty or
Unexpected events. Yeah.
yeah, where it becomes very easy to instead fall prey to superstition.
Mhm.
So I think that it's both these things in a way require resolve to
Yes.
maintain, which I don't know is kind of I just hadn't thought of that, I guess,
Yeah.
until you brought it up. So
Yeah,
maybe
and like I
maybe I'll realize something more thinking about it that way. But yeah,
Sure. Like I said, especially, thinking along those lines, when something unexpected comes up and you sort of have to like put your stake down and maintain the faith, whatever it may be. Faith in a religious icon or faith in logic. It's really hard to do for a kid.
Hmm.
And, especially because, everything isn't fully formed yet. Um, in Campion, I think just has a lot more uncertainty about things, than someone like Paul does, because Paul has, clearly, like, in these past few episodes, just like absolute, like, unshakable, like, this is, soul told me because blah blah blah. He has something very concrete that he thinks he can hang his hat on, which is, I talk to soul.
Yeah.
We as the viewer are like, but did you really? But he
Hmm.
has that, like, moment of revelation for him, um, where, that sort of seals the deal, and Campion just hasn't had that moment of like, yep, this feels right. I think with regard to, like, atheism and the collective, but also, and with regard to the Mithraic either. So he could go either way.
Yeah. No, and
It's
that's
impressionable.
like, yeah, right. And again, it's just a very, I think, honest take and look, and
Mhm.
like you say, it makes it easier too for kids too. But I think adults are plenty susceptible as well.
Sure, yeah.
It's very difficult, and I've had it before in real life where you can't really um refute someone's experience. So if Paul experiences something, he experienced it, whether he really did, whether it's what he thinks it is or whatever.
Mhm.
From an outside perspective, you can say that all you want. Just as we see how unreliable eyewitness testimony is, I always use that as like, well,
Right?
I can't obviously directly, definitively discredit what you experienced,
Mhm.
but consider this. Well, that's hard to
Yes.
do. And so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can always plant seeds of doubt in anybody, and in their experience, but, um, whether those seeds grow into something more can vary person by person.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we can and others in the show have planted seeds in Paul's brain about, you know, was this really like the conversation you had? Was it with soul, like, X, Y, and Z? But if he's the type of person that just can hold fast and can hold steady, like, you planted the seeds, but they're not going to grow. You didn't plant them in fertile soil, to extend the
Mm.
metaphor.
Right.
Um, whereas Campion seems, um, you know, uh, much more fertile in the sense of he likes new ideas and he takes to new ideas, and they can sometimes, interrupt maybe like more core beliefs that he's had, and make him doubt, whether he's on the right path or not. Um, and it's not to say that his belief system or his experience is any less than Paul's for not being, absolutely unshakable. It's just he's a different person, and this is the way he reacts to events.
Hmm.
So, and both
Is
both can be very honest of different kinds of people.
Yep. Is this a breakdown of the like problem with not being exposed to a multitude of viewpoints and not understanding why you think what you think? Because we get two groups of kids that are both like, this is the thing, here it
Mhm.
is, and this is what you will believe. And
Mhm.
it's not, there is no like, well, let's explore why you might think that, why
Mhm.
you should think that. So you can come, because if you don't understand why you think what you think, you can be, you can simultaneously be incredibly stubborn
Mhm.
because you emotionally resonated with the thought, or you can be easily emotionally swayed to something
Mhm.
completely different because you
Mhm.
had no core fundamental understanding of
Or
your
attachment, yeah.
right. You know, so there's a person I listen to that says you can never convince someone of of a new viewpoint when they've worked themselves to that viewpoint by way of emotion and
Mhm,
not logic. You can't.
mhm,
It's just it's not possible thing to do. I kind of
mhm.
butchered that, but that's the premise. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think
it'll be interesting to see where they keep going with this.
yeah, yeah, and, I think it's great that they've sort of reintroduced, boy, I cannot remember her name, the pregnant Mithraic girl.
Oh yeah, yeah. They haven't said her name in a while. Feels
I
like,
know, I
but
know. You know who I mean. Hopefully,
hmm
everybody listening knows who I mean. She's the only one that's pregnant, so, easy
yeah,
to pick out of a
right,
lineup. Um, but they've sort of reintroduced her as, one of the Mithraic kids who's possibly kind of coming around to an atheist point of view. So I think that it's nice that we're getting that kind of balance too, that it's not just like Campion who's questioning his belief system, you know? I think it's
but
good that we're kind of exploring a lot of different, like, how would different events, like, shake your belief system?
yeah,
Especially one like you were saying that perhaps she really doesn't have a tie to, that she's just been
hmm
told over and over, like, "This is the right way, this is what you're gonna believe, this is how you were brought up," and it was just, like, drilled into her brain, but, she had this, like, clear, you know, break, this experience that, like, broke her from that, and now she's like, "Dunno. Dunno that I'm really believing this or not." She hasn't said definitively, like, I'm an atheist now. She's just been received warmly by atheists
yeah,
who, are now caring for her, both, I think, in mother and father and in, the family that's gonna take her child, so she's got an opportunity here to decide what she believes.
yeah. But is she again really deciding what she believes, or is it now she's because to me she's come to a point of decision based solely on emotion, most likely. You could argue that she has been kind of shaken and therefore can see more clearly. I'd argue that she has been emotionally destroyed and therefore she could no way believe in what she was taught because the people that she was a part of so dreadfully wronged her,
Mhm.
that they would allow someone, one of their own, who believed themselves to be hearing Soul's voice and everything, to go and rape her while she's on the ship. So, like, clearly that would shake you, and it makes sense that you would reject vehemently. Tempest, Alan, thank you. Yep,
Tempest. Thank you so much. Oh my
that's a
gosh.
cool name. Yeah,
It is a good name.
but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, in these 2 last episodes here, we don't get, like, a total rejection. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that she's, like, very warm towards the atheists and, like,
yes,
warm toward assimilating. Um, and I appreciate that she, like, basically is like a cheerleader and a prop up for father, being like, "Hey, don't worry
yeah,
about it. You this is
right.
like just your soul's magic medallion, like you did it for you." Because I think because I outside the show think father needs that. So, um, but yeah, so I just appreciate the like multitude I think of experiences
Yep.
that we're getting here that, like you said, seem very realistic. Um, and are very thought provoking. I think this latest kind of 3 episodes in particular, have just been really thought provoking and really well
hmm
done by the writers.
hmm Yep. Um. Okay, so can we move on to four? Episode four.
Yeah, I think oh, okay. So, I just have to say about, like, the closing out of 3 before
Mm-hmm.
we go. So, like, do you get a sense that, like, Soul is a being or, like, Soul is the sun? 'Cause I can never, like,
Mm,
quite figure it out sometimes. You know, when Marcus is, like, holding up the snake skin and he's talking about, like, it absorbing, like, Soul's power, and they, like,
right.
speak to the sun and, like, I don't know, sometimes I'm like, I don't
I
know.
don't think
It's just
I
like
don't think
it's a
it's
very strange aspect of the religion that I've just never been quite clear on, and these last
yeah.
episodes, I was like, "What is
I
Soul?"
think that the sun represents the power of soul.
Okay.
It's not actually
Not
soul,
actually Soul,
but
okay.
yeah,
Sometimes
because
they
I
just
think they're
talk at it
too
like it is, and I just I don't
sure.
know, I get tripped up like, "What are you doing here?"
I think they're too advanced to like, I feel like they can too clearly
Sun god worship.
see. Yeah, and like it's a, it's an energy ball in the sky. There are many of them of varying sizes,
Sure.
all that kind of thing. So,
It's not like a magic
yeah.
ball, like, "Ooh, it's
Right.
angry with
Yeah,
us."
exactly.
Um, yeah, sometimes it, like, takes me back a little bit, and I just
Mhm.
think such an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Alright,
Oh,
episode 4.
episode 4. Yeah, so Paul gets the mouse. We've had the whole thing where the android girl and Campion are forming a little relationship here. They
Mhm.
help her back to the cave and all this stuff. So now we have a warning to Paul from the trust. Not really warning him, but clearly setting the giving the hints, as you say, planting the seed for what very well the trust knows Paul's about to do. Hey,
Mhm.
we're no worries about what's his face? Can't think of his name right now. It's on the screen.
Marcus? Marcus?
Marcus. Oh, I keep forgetting his name, but that yeah, he's going to be done for soon. We're going to mount a strike, and
Mhm.
so there we go. What do we do? We must go warn him, and that doesn't work out so well.
Yeah,
Um,
not
and who's
at all.
yeah. And then there's another girl with them as well. So another soul
Oh, Mithraic
Mithraic,
kid.
yes. Another one with terrible
Yeah.
hair. It's a theme.
Yes. Oof,
Terrible hair all over,
yeah. The, like, weird, like, half bowl, half mullet cut
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
just not great.
How would you feel to
Um,
have to like live with that as an actress for like months and months at a time?
God, for some of them, I really hope it's a wig. You know, I
Okay.
just
Mhm.
for the guy playing Marcus, it sort of works, like, especially if you look at him, like, direct on, you can't see, like, the
Yeah.
mullet and back, so, like, it's kind of
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, for this young actress, I do hope it's a wig because it's some rough haircut. Does not
She's
do
gonna
her any
tweet at you after
favors.
this. How
She
dare
is,
you?
she's gonna come
I
at
brought
me.
this hairstyle to
"This
the
was my
show.
idea."
Yeah.
Um But yeah, so yeah, obviously this mission does not go well at all, which I mean, like I said, I had sort of anticipated the trust putting some sort of tracking device either in Paul or in Mouse or whatever. There's no emotion in the trust, so I didn't think like, boy, he's just given this, Paul back his mouse for free. But
Right.
I was completely shocked at the use of the mouse as a bioweapon to attack the Mithraic, and then you know, basically this computer in his later dealings with Mother just admitting like sacrifice I was willing to make, yo.
Yep.
Um so yeah, I mean, I knew this the second that Mother kind of figured that out, there was going to be a showdown between her and the trust.
Yeah. So I mean, we get. eh, Firstly, I hate like I don't get bothered by much in terms of gore or something like that, but I hate this kind of thing.
Mhm.
It turns my stomach. I don't like the pustules
Animals.
and bumps and stuff like that. I don't care about the mouse. I didn't care
I
about that. I had to
did. I
say I
did.
didn't care
It was
about the
like
mouse.
split open. It was a lot. It was a lot for
For
me.
me, I'm like,
Poor
can we
baby.
not with the mouse again? I mean, come on, kid. I get it, I guess, because You want friends, his companions. It's not like there's a ton of animals all over the place that are, domesticated. So
But
whatever,
you
have
got
your
people.
mouse.
Look
But
at Campion trying to be your friend.
I
Like,
know, right? Yeah.
better than a mouse,
But people talk back.
I guess.
Yeah.
Got that mouth
Uh,
on you.
right.
Um, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of, in a way glad that we are done with Paul's obsession with Mouse, because unclear if we're even done with Paul. I mean, I doubt it,
Hmm.
but this episode was clearly like unresolved. Um, Paul's in the direct line of fire when the bioweapon explodes, and I mean
Yep.
explodes in a minor sense. But yeah, very unclear whether or not he's going to make it, because obviously we know Marcus's like prayer to Saul for healing doesn't work. Mother eventually shows up to this encampment and takes Paul back, believing that there's an antidote, and the trust tells her there isn't.
Yep.
Um, so she brings Paul to Sue, which I think is going to be a great interaction in the next few episodes, because we don't really get to see much of that in this one. It's just not the focus right now.
You're right.
But basically like barges in, drops, you know, a barely alive Paul on Sue's medical table. Um and just like is off to fight the trust to figure out if there's an antidote. Um so yeah,
Yep.
a
Yeah. I
lot of
mean,
great, again, action moving forward, and like great storylines for characters, because I was just thinking Sue doesn't really have much going on right now that we can be interested
she's
in, but
on to
now
mother,
she's on to Mother,
on
but
to
you know what I
mother
mean?
and the
Like this
serpent. Yeah.
in this episode she kind of like gets some stuff back, but like in the previous one, like we didn't really have anything for her to do, and that was okay. Like she could be back burner for a minute, and now she's got double whammy. She's got figuring out Mother's child is going to be the snake thing, and then yeah, healing Paul.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, and then we have, Marcus says to his girlfriend, make it right. We have this
Ooh.
terrible, like, chase,
Ooh.
she's supposed to deal with the Campion. Campion saves her. And then her,
So she
she's like,
saves him.
yep, yep. It's a fun relationship, but man, did they pick the worst way to try to dispatch of this poor android girl. Like
Oof.
the little knife. Because firstly,
I mean,
if
I get that it
someone
was
gets to her, she's
symbolic, but
not
like,
dead.
boo.
Right. Yes. Yes. Not good. But I think she'll be back too, because we've seen the resilience with androids.
Right, seemingly
Campion's
dead,
gotta
and
go get her, it would be my
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
So, and then we're given the hint that she is more than a regular model, because
Mhm.
firstly, she mentions something about, I wish I had eyes like
Yeah.
my mother. And then the glare from her adoptive mother, like, what are you saying? Shut your mouth, like
Mhm.
knows something. And then she, presumably her glows to distract the guy from shooting Campion, and he gets away and then gives him one more piece of ammunition, and like, Soul appeared before me.
Mhm.
So that
Yeah.
was a whole interesting, crazy thing.
Yeah, yeah. I really hope that that little android girl comes back too, because I think she's another great, machine that's been infected by emotion, just with the way that she's been programmed to like be that Marcus's girlfriend's daughter,
Right.
and sort of like imbued with her consciousness. It's her character is very interesting to me, the way she sort of like ping pongs around between being android and like taking a direct order, which she
Yeah.
follows but doesn't carry out. You know what I mean? Like she follows
Yeah.
Cambion, she's like a direct order, I can't do anything about it, and then he saves her and it seems like she can maybe do something about it.
Yeah.
So, very interesting to me.
Yep.
Like she's mechanical and manipulative, and it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. So it's one of what you kind of expect a little more from an android, where you can't, You can't judge them exactly, like, or that plays on that fear of when are they just gonna resort to their programming? When are they gonna be commanded to kill kind of thing?
Right.
But she's getting used to the idea of someone like risking their lives to save her. She's not used to that kind of idea being treated differently. So that's not like a super original thing, but it is something we haven't really seen in this show where an
Mhm.
android is responding to the care and concerns from a person,
Mhm.
um, and like
Yeah.
her desires to be a person and to be treated that way and such. So
Right, and again, like, it's interesting to explore that in, like, the quote unquote "body of a child." You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, there's some really interesting explorations going on with the kids in this show. It's not just the adults. Um,
yes,
and it's
which is yeah,
fascinating. Yeah, it's fascinating to me to, like, think about the way that kids develop, you know, human or machine, and how that can kind of get, like, mixed up depending on their environment. So
yeah. It's something I've been appreciating about this season over the first is I
Mhm.
normally really don't like kids in shows, and I didn't care much for most of the kids in season one. They were
Mhm.
definitely the supplementary part
Side,
that
yeah, for sure.
yeah, but now I am more invested. Like they feel like they have a little more autonomy, they're doing more. It definitely I care more about each of them.
Yeah.
So, and they're showing their personality a little bit
Yeah.
more. It's more distinct. Yeah, back to Marcus and Mother, we get that, like you say, that confrontation. Marcus is going to win, and then Campion intervenes, and she notices that he's got his eyes for her
Oh my
eyes.
god,
So,
yes. I was
damn.
so excited about that.
I was
Like,
like,
yes.
oh, at the same time, it's like I'm enjoying the prophet Marcus that genuinely seems to care and is like, has this thing about him. Like it's a true believer at this point, and
Right.
it's like we're gonna. So like I do feel a reformation there, but I
Mhm.
wonder what's gonna happen now because we've seen everybody react to him differently.
Yep.
All of a sudden, his girlfriend
Both
Decima
mentally
is
and
like,
physically, yeah.
yeah, it's like I don't feel the literal spark anymore when I kiss you and stuff. So it's like, is this going to affect because did Marcus I feel like he wasn't aware that the eyes were doing it. He was
He's
probably
yeah,
thinking,
but
but
he's
now
so
he's
aware
like,
now.
right, now he's like, damn, now it's my veins are gone. Everybody's
Mhm.
gonna treat me like I'm a normal person again.
Mhm.
So where does this go? Like I just really wanted to see the next one because I like, what is this? Is this religion gonna fall apart before it even begins, or is he
Right.
gonna prove himself again in some other way and prove his faith yet?
Right, because I mean, he hasn't always had mother's eyes, and we've seen, like, other sort of, like, "miracles," quote, unquote, that
Yep.
he made happen before that.
Hmm.
So, they can go a lot of different ways with this, kind of returning to those events and seeing what can happen there. Or we could have a Marcus who, like, desperately craves mother's eyes back and
Right.
sets up for a confrontation with her.
I hope it's
Um
not that one, personally.
I mean, I feel like some portion of that might be inevitable, but I don't think it has to come about in a very obvious and predictable way. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
the show is
Right.
very good at, like, making events happen that either I see coming, but it comes, like, opposite of the way I expected it to, or they, like you said, where they kind of step back and they're like, no, we're not going to take this road,
Yep.
like how we were pleasantly surprised with the snake creature.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, so I mean, I think obviously Marcus is going to have to do something because we're already by the end of the episode getting, his followers are like, ooh, this
Hmm.
seems weird. Like, you feel different. He seems sort of back to being kind of shady and hiding things, which he is. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how he reverts or doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the thing you can do, obviously, though, with some sort of religion, faith based thing, is you can always say it's part of the plan.
Right.
It's part of Soul's plan. So
Can always
he
fall back on
said
that.
to Mother, yeah, he said to Mother, to her, she's like, Soul once told me to spare your life. He's not telling me that now. It can easily be explained away that Soul told me to spare Mother's life because he knew I would borrow her powers for a
Yep.
time that will allow me to survive and to start my flock and start his parishioners over, like, because it was obviously decimated, and this was the way that it's been foretold to happen here now. So
Right.
now my moment of um enhancement here is done, but we're still playing the role. We're still
Right.
following the plan of Soul.
Right.
And so if he's can bring himself to be a little more open in that way and still prove devotion to
Mhm.
Soul and to his followers, I think he can salvage this.
Mhm.
So a little bit of play with the words and a little more honesty and stuff, and think can
Yeah.
still make it work. Part of the
Yeah, I
plan.
mean, I don't think Marcus is gonna, like, lose people immediately,
Right.
but, I mean, it's we've had this, ascendancy moment. Now we're getting, okay, shit's real because he doesn't have Mother's eyes. What's gonna happen to this religion? Like, what's
Hmm.
what's what's coming of its first test here?
Hmm.
Um, and what will come of Marcus's kind of next test, because we've obviously seen him be tested. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so I think there are a lot of different avenues for this to explore. And of course, potentially setting up a conflict between Marcus and Mother would be interesting for not only Marcus, but for Mother, who has like basically ultimate power back again and comes home to just bowl over the collective. And that's obviously not very interesting television for very long. So she clearly needs to be challenged in some way that isn't just gonna, you know what I mean? Like, she can't just like have her eyes back, dominate the collective, basically, like, if she wants to install Campion as leader, have everything go her way. So
Yes, but programming, her whole desire and everything is to take care of the kids at all costs,
mhm.
take care of her children. So you don't have to have a physical threat to yourself to be incredibly threatened, because the upheaval and the unrest and everything amongst the people, can she hold fast in her programming, her principles, like protect the children, protect the atheists, like there's a hierarchy here, but it's still like it would be very against what she believes to just start annihilating people that oppose her because they're upset, unless they directly pose a threat to the children. So how
Which
how can you maintain some sort of order or structure or something?
right.
Is she going to lash out? Because
Yes.
then are you just worse than the trust? Because
Right.
now you're doing you're running off of emotion here, and like the trust said, everyone is equal. I have to
Mhm.
view everyone as a number.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there are a lot of interesting places for the next few episodes to go. I mean, arguably Mother is stretching her, directive by coming back and challenging the collective and kind of taking everybody out. I mean, they do pose a direct threat to her when she comes back, and they're clearly like, "Oh shit, she has her eyes. Like, this is a problem."
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, like, were they really, does she, how far does she go until she feels like her children are safe? How far does she go? I mean, she basically comes back to enact revenge on the trust for not creating an antidote for for Paul, and for using like her children, including Campion. Like, how far does she go in sense of like, I need to protect the children? Like, does that mean physical threats? Does that mean, perceived threats, potential threats? It's a lot to take in, and especially with her kind of showing more emotion now, and showing more um tendency to act on that emotion rather than just logic.
Well, that's
So,
always the problem with the promise of safety that's not self-derived. Because
mhm,
it's if it's safety, well, where does that line
right,
stop? You know,
right,
and so this can be brought into all kinds of things. I mean, it's the concern with like I remember back in school or whatever, be okay, health insurance. Well, if you eat too many cheeseburgers, you count that, and then now your health insurance cost is really high because it's it's going to affect the cost or whatever. So, well, if that's
right,
applying for safety, well, you eat too many cheeseburgers, that's not healthy for you. That's bad for your longevity. Therefore, you can't do it or don't do it.
right.
And someone that is gonna, so whatever it is in this, yeah, how far do you want to extend it to what is good
Preventative
for
measures, yeah.
right. Yeah, what is good for my children.
Mhm.
Um, I have to say
Speaking
the oh, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, speaking of, like, mother protecting her children and getting revenge, anticlimactic showdown with the trust. I feel like that's not over,
Okay.
right?
Okay. I mean,
Like, did you
well,
did
I
you
was
do
just
you
gonna
have that sense anyway? I mean, it just felt like real easy, and I've just learned not to trust easy,
okay.
especially in a show like
Okay.
this.
I was gonna say that this when she once she got her eyes back and she was going to the trust, that was some of my favorite live action television I've seen in
Mhm.
quite a while. Like I was very enthralled. I'm like, I just the the imagery they created for Mother, this like on a cross kind of thing that's often, the arms out and some of that. I really dig the effects of the screams. I
Mhm.
just was like hair raised, like I'm watching Demon Slayer kind of moments, and then
Mhm.
her going up, threatening, and the trust has no choice. It understands her power. Got to
Right.
let her in. And then the shot of when the door opens and she's staying there and she's very darkened by shadow and stuff. It's a great shot, great image. So I love the whole thing. That I just thought that was really a great bit of television. And I especially like how they tied it an emotional element to the trust through the leader of the collective. Because we've seen since the very first episode of this season his incredible dependency, his
Mhm.
religious dependency on the
Mhm.
trust. This
Mhm.
atheist can't make a decision without his priest, without his savior, whatever.
Yep.
And when it gets shut down, which is an emotional thing for Mother to do too, it's like turning off her sibling, and so she's so shocked by her own family. How could you do
Right.
this in a sense?
Like an
Um,
idolized older sibling.
yeah, right. Um, so I thought there was just a lot of great stuff going on. We get the shot at the end when that guy runs in and he's just despondent in front of the trust, lifeless now. He's
Mhm.
getting no response. He's trying to call. Um, I thought it was all really good.
Yeah. I agree with you that this was, to me, this everything was well set up. Like
Hmm.
everything up until the actual moment of like turning off the trust. I was like, I'm in. This is great. Like this, philosophical barbs and banter. Um, it's excellent. But she's not just gonna walk in and shut him down, and we never hear from the trust again. So
Well,
it's
she
just sort
didn't
of like
destroy. She didn't destroy.
that's what I
She
mean. Like,
disabled. Yeah.
right, exactly. So I was just sort of
Yes.
like, there's, for a being this intelligent, there's no way the trust hasn't thought of this scenario. So I feel like I'm in the limbo space of waiting for the other shoe to drop in some
Okay.
fashion.
The trust knows it
There's
has loyal
something else there.
subjects. It's
Yeah,
gonna
there's
restore
yeah,
operation.
there's something else there. or mother's going to, need the trust at some point or something. There has to be
I could
something
see
more
that.
because there's no way that we've spent this amount of time building up the trust and the idea of the collective relying so much on the trust without it ever reappearing. And maybe it's in relation to the snake thing, you
Yeah,
know?
maybe.
Obviously there's still mystery there and the trust seemed to at least know a little bit. Maybe mother needs to know more about original champions designs for her,
Could
for,
be.
the atheists, something. So,
I will be okay if the trust doesn't come back for some reason. But as you say, there are a litany of reasons that could spring up, and obviously leaving the door open because otherwise she just would have screamed and destroyed it all.
right,
And then,
exactly.
so,
So I feel
and
like even
she's
mother
probably,
thinks like at some point
yeah, like I don't need to,
need this
she'll feel
backup.
confident in her ability to be able to
Right.
manage she has a body, the trust doesn't, that kind of thing. Yeah. What if the trust is able to take over a body? So at the very end, we get to see that father's little experiment is coming to life,
Yes. Oh my
and
god. One
seems
of the
like,
biggest things in these episodes, we haven't really touched on it yet.
yeah, like is this android, this ancient android species or whatever it is it a similar thing to what the little girl android is, and that they both glow?
Mhm.
Or what do we have going on here? Um,
Yes. Yeah, this was fascinating to me both in the sense of like father bonding with a different android,
mhm,
feeling again, I feel like very paternalistic towards this other being, and needing to take care of it. Um, and also trying to solve the mystery, kind of putting
mhm,
himself like sacrificing, putting himself on the line to help this ancient android, I don't know, recover, get better, come to life.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, this was a very fascinating storyline to me. And of course, we obviously get this whole like, you know, mix up for the kids where they see it glowing and it's like, oh, this is soul. Like, oh my
yeah,
God, you know? So this I don't I have no idea where this is coming from, where it's going, but I'm fascinated. I'm
yeah,
fascinated that we're getting to see yet another type of android
yep.
and I can't wait.
And it's cool in the sense that, first you're like, okay, this thing is gonna come back, but like a computer, you think about it being artificial, you can reassemble a computer and plug it back in. It can be
Mhm.
pretty darn old, and if you have
Mhm.
power for it, there it is. The memory's
Yep.
still there. It's not been, so if we apply that kind of thing here, it can make sense. And I think that father's not going to have a paternal thing. I think it's going to be more of a relationship, and mother's going to take her turn being jealous. Whereas father was very jealous of her for getting pregnant
Mhm.
without him, not even
Right.
figuring this was a factor, could be a thing. So it triggers something
Right.
like I'm left out. We're the we're a couple, even though we're supposed
Mhm.
to be, uh, you know,
Just
uh,
programmed
yeah,
caretakers. Yeah. Yep.
right. So I think now it's going to be where he has a thing,
Okay.
they get on or something, or make some sort of different relationship, and it's now becomes a jealousy slash power struggle.
Mhm.
With it's almost a way unintentionally to get back at mother
Yeah.
for the perceived betrayal. Um, so I think mother trying to like wrangle the collective here and make that happen is going to be thrown off kilter even more by now. I don't know,
Father.
maybe an opposing figure that's as powerful as mother. We don't
Yeah,
know. It
that's
could be.
that's the exciting possibility here is we have no idea what this whole like rising glowing. I mean, it certainly seems very similar to Mother in the sense of it hanging in the air in again like you were saying this sort of like cross shape.
Mhm.
So is it like some sort of early version of, a necromancer that was too deadly They had
Yeah.
to, somebody had to put it down or something. So yeah, there's a whole host of possibilities here. And yeah, so where I was going with like paternalistic, I think, when it was just like a skeleton lying there, I think father
Hmm.
was very like, I will take care of you,
Yeah. Right.
just sort of an extension of his programming. Now that
Yep.
it's whatever it is, potentially fully restored, that the relationship can change there because, father certainly has enough kids to act that role with. Um,
Yep.
and they intentionally, I think, leave the shape vague. So I'm not sure that it's, male or female or that we care if it is,
They show in
you
the
know.
preview.
They do. Okay.
Hmm.
I don't remember if I watched the preview or not. So, okay. I'll have to go back.
Yeah,
But
because they always show the preview and then they show behind the scenes stuff. So I always want to
oh,
see
right.
that.
Yeah,
So I always like watch through it.
sure. But yeah, I mean, there's a multitude of possibilities, romantic or platonic, that you know could still draw out mother's jealousy in
Yeah.
father having a new relationship with another android, regardless of whether it's you know the same as like
Yeah.
she had with their creator,
Yeah. I was gonna say, what does a romantic relationship look like with androids in real space? You know?
right? Yeah, we always get sort of like not quite, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, mother obviously was with a simulation, and a
Hmm.
simulation of a human, so not another android. Um, yeah, I mean,
Well, what's the
Campion
difference
and
then?
well, yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, who knows? I mean, that could be getting very fine line technical on
Mhm.
what's human and what isn't, and what's machine and what isn't. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, obviously Campion and now this, other android girl is sort of a like, I don't know, maybe
Yep.
mother and
Yeah.
father are like almost they seem like partners, and they're sort of sometimes like the feelings of romantic love but not quite. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
I
they
mean,
get jealous and they say
right.
like we're in a partnership, and they certainly seem to feel like there should be
Mhm.
something more than just like we're literal like partners in this project of raising the kids, but we never actually see that. They just sort of seem to think they should feel it,
Yeah. Because I think it's set up
but they never
as
do.
right. It's designed as like, okay, here is we're trying to create the most ideal situation for the rearing of these children. So therefore, we're going to have this man and woman couple to
Right?
help them along with. So you create the image, but I don't think they ever really consider it that way until all of a sudden, right? Until all of a sudden mother's pregnant and then it like triggers the thing like, oh, the thing we've been kind of just acting or figuring is like now real. Now I'm
Right.
feeling
Now I
it,
have
you know?
stakes in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So,
So yeah, we're getting a lot of almost scenarios, and yeah, this could be really
mhm.
interesting for like what could this look like?
Yep.